We're now recording.
Sorry, I should have pressed record at the beginning of the meeting. So where is Headwoman Audrey? I had wanted to, Riel, do you want to get Headwoman Audrey? So while Headwoman gets here, you know, I figured that we would probably have a small turnout today. We do have a lot of, you know, we've had a lot of loss in our community, and so people are grieving, and I recognize that. And so I thank the ones that were able to come today to be here. And oh, here's Headwoman still working. It's like she's never left the rink. I'm going to hand it over to Headwoman Audrey to give our opening remarks. Oh, thank you very much.
Good morning, everyone. Just rounding up my last project. We're always eating, right? So round it up to the next one. But I want to welcome everyone this morning and give thanks to education and also the health department to bring us some information to our parents, our community, and we need to get back in process with our school, and also we need to get back to our education, what's happening in our school. So with the COVID, with the outside contributors, our loved ones leaving us, it has been a difficult time for our community. But we need to carry on. We need to kind of have some sort of normalcy. Get back to some sort of normalcy. So we want to have communication happening within the community, and that's what we're hearing. We need more communication. What's going on? So thank you for those that come this morning to gain that information. Thank you, Nicole, for organizing. I know we had to reschedule before to other matters, but Chief sent the message this morning. Talked to her this morning, and she needs time for her rest. She's going through her process of her loved one that she had lost, and so she's making time for herself. So we also went to support Luke and Luke yesterday. We have lost a son also. So we went there yesterday. Near these open visas, they have the they were happy that we were all there to represent or check on some abandoned areas. So we're going through the process. But we must carry on, folks. We must carry on to deliver what programs we have. We must carry on our education. That's the most important thing. Our kids are our priority. So we need to get back into school. Our kids back into school. I know we were staying at home, trying to educate our people and our children at home, and parents, you know, I'm a parent or a grandparent or a guardian. I'm not a teacher, guys. My teacher role ended after a month and paid it off. Okay, I'm not cut off to be a teacher. So I know the roles and responsibilities of teachers do, and I know what education has to do to make that happen. So welcome this morning, and we will give information to you what we have. And for bringing on, maybe we can have another one, you know, to see the absence of the community. And so we need to keep that open dialogue in our community. So thank you very much for being here.
Thank you, Headwoman. And yeah, we have a number of things going on in the community, as Headwoman had stated, and loss, sorrow, grief. And also, you know, next door neighbors are having a powwow today. And so, you know, we've been saying that our community is out and about. And the other thing that we're knowing and seeing is that people are really sick of COVID. They're sick of hearing about COVID. They're sick about talking about it. They don't want to go back to not having school, not having getting our businesses closed. You know, they're tired of that. And so a little bit, we don't want to hear anything about it anymore. So I pressed the record button because we're gonna still post this for our members, our citizens that aren't able to be here today. Maybe they might have a listen, you know, when it's good for them, at a time that's good for them. I'm sick of COVID too. And I think our teachers are as well. They would love to have the kids to come back face to face and learn that way. And on the call today, I'm going to acknowledge we have presentations from Natalie Jones. As you can see, Natalie is here. And she's our head nurse that works with rapid testing, and I meet with her on a regular basis. And also Joanne Bryant, another one of our head nurses with ISC, and she works on the pediatric vaccine team. And I also sit on that team with them as well. So, you know, I want to acknowledge the two ladies that could not physically be here today because ISC still has the travel restrictions, so they're not able to come into our community. But through technology, we can bring them in this way. So I do have a spot in the agenda for them to give some slide presentations to you. And if you have questions, I often say, you know, you go right to the horse. Right from the horse's mouth is the colloquialism or the slang saying. And so that's why, no pun intended there, Joanne and Natalie, because I am a cowgirl, we will go right to the horse's mouth and we will ask you the questions as they come up from the community. And so I'm going to ask everybody in the room here, if you have questions, I want you to sing out. Yes, we have an agenda, and if you're looking for an agenda, they are up front here at each one of the tables. Just grab one of them, but if you have a question, put your hand up and we can take the microphone over and you can address it. And myself, from Riel, Dennis, once he gets here, and also Natalie and Joanne could address that question, okay? So please feel free. So we're going to start with the first presentation. And morning, Kelvin. On the agenda, I have Return to Learning, Nicole and team. And so when I say Nicole and team, I just want to acknowledge our principal here today. Give a little wave, Riel. Okay, he's come off a day early here from holidays. And technically teachers and principals, vice principals, they don't start back till tomorrow. So, you know, I have been bothering Riel sporadically through the summer. And for the most part, he tends to take my calls. And so I do acknowledge him for that. And so we're gonna, Riel, come on up. And so we're gonna just talk about our procedures and protocols. I'm going to share the screen here for a minute. And I'm going to bring up our Return to Learning plan. Can everybody see that? Oh, just a second. What is that? No, that's the agenda. Don't want that one. Try it again. Let's try this Return to Learning. I must have it underneath something. Oh yes, that's what I do. I got a couple screens open. Okay, so our Return to Learning, no, this is not the right one. Our Return to Learning plan looks like, there it is. There it is. Okay. Sorry. Just gonna find it. Natalie, you guys can't see this, but the crowd can see it. If it shows up. Yeah. Natalie and Joanne, I have sent you guys the Return to Learning plan. So basically the return to learning plan, so Riel, if you want to come up, is basically the same as last year, okay? The difference is that we are bringing the kids back full time. There's not going to be any shifting off of learning. Last year, we had the K-3 learners coming back full time. And it was our grades 4 to 9 that came in 2 different days. And we were trying to keep the numbers at 10 and under, okay? Now what they're suggesting to us is that all kids should be returned. They're suggesting there's 2 things we need to identify today. There's a safety and procedures plan, and there's addressing our academic gaps that COVID has created, okay? 2 things. So we have 2 different plans. So we have a safety and procedures plan, where we're gonna address the safety and procedure protocols. So that means we're gonna continue with masking on buses. We're gonna continue with masking in common hallways, front entries, those areas. We are not going to have a masking at this time outside in the playground space. We're not going to have masking unless our health nurse says, you know what, we need to go back to masking within the classroom. But right now, Saskatchewan Health Authority, ISC is not recommending that we mask within the classroom. We're going to keep our grade group units separate. We did that last year. Our teachers know how to do it. Our students know how to do it. So each grade will have their own recess, their own noon hour. Okay, they will be playing within their grade group. And again, that's a safety feature that we established last year that worked effectively. We didn't have COVID enter our school. And so we're really thankful for that. And we need to recognize that our little guys are unvaccinated. 12 to 18-year-olds can get vaccinated, and we working with Dennis at the health department. He is going to do his utmost to continue to ask our parents to get the kids vaccinated. In all of our meetings, they are stating to us emphatically, vaccination is the way to get out of the pandemic. The longer we continue to be unvaccinated, the longer we're going to be in pandemic. So the message needs to be, if you are able to get vaccinated, please get vaccinated. If you don't know the steps of it, you have worries. I have 2 nurses here today that are going to address those concerns and worries for you. Now we have the pediatric vaccine that's coming, and that's going to be for ages 11 and to ages 5. Okay, we'll talk about that a little bit later on in the meeting. Back to the safety procedures. What else do we have? We have fogging.
Still have the hand washing machines in place. Also, visitors, as you come, still same regulations, please call before you come. Online registration as well this year will be available. So that will be, we'll have an announcement tomorrow with all that information as well when the teachers get here. So a lot of good things in that regard to children's safety still being practiced. We do have the KN95s available for teachers as well. So those are top end masks that we do give for the teachers, and they use those ones. So that's very important because they are coming from out of community. So we make sure you take extra care there. Yes.
Form collections, the digital. You mentioned that.
Form collections, digital, yeah.
Recess breaks, mealtime.
Yep.
Assembly, staff meetings, probably a minimal.
Yeah. Also, and the third thing too is make sure we are incorporating our traditional practices into our teachings too. So we do have another thing to balance as well. And that's always one thing we hold is in higher regard. For instance, like school, like one of the big questions right off the hop is, would we like to have a school feast, you know, as we come back to the school? So things like that. Is it okay to have our school powwow like at the start of the year? You know, little questions like that we do need to address as well. So
I know we've had a couple of feasts during some of our grieving during our funerals. And so we're gonna have to advise with our health department and with chief and council as that comes to be, with Kelvin and with our elders at the school. We want to keep everybody safe. So, we may have to, we talked about delaying the feast, maybe till a little bit later on, get the kids back into school, get them into their safety procedures and protocols, get everybody up and going. And then see how things are gonna fare as far as COVID within our community. And if it's safe to do so, then we will go under the advisement of our health department, our chief and council, and our ISC officials here to kind of advise us accordingly if we do have a school feast, okay? But there's other ways around that. We could have, grade groupings. You could have feasts within your small grade. We could rotate that. There's other ways that we could still, address our cultural needs, our ceremony needs. We may have to do it differently, but we could still do it, okay? But we'll kind of announce that as we're going. We'll work with Audrey and Dennis and the team there to establish that. Human resources. So you might ask, why do we have a human resource section in here for a return to work? So basically, we work closely with our employees, and we want to keep all employees, whether they be employees from the band or whether they're employees at the school, we want to keep everybody safe. And so again, we want to remind everybody, we do have, as established last year, we have a COVID-19 sick policy. We've added that into our personnel policy. And so here's very quickly, here is the procedure. So when somebody, if an employee, a staff member may feel sick, a citizen member, you may feel sick, what would you do? Would you leave your home? Would you go out? You need to start questioning. If I don't feel well, guess what? You stay home. And then if it's a work day and you don't feel well and you stay home, you consult you phone the health department and you talk to Nurse Amy. And you say, Nurse Amy, I'm not feeling well today. And she will say to you, okay, this is what she said last year when we were actively going through this. She will say, okay, I want you to monitor for your symptoms for 3 days. That's generally her response, unless you're really sick. Then she will say, okay, you need to come in and we need to give you an immediate PCR test, a COVID test, which is the gold standard, when you are showing symptoms, okay? So the general rule of thumb is if you're not feeling well, we want employees, again, to stay home. We want you to know that we do have a section in our personnel policy that is set aside for you, that you're not going to have to use up all your sick days. We learned that last year, that we needed to have, in addition, sick days added into an employee's policy. Okay, so that's the human resource section. And the other thing about the human resource section is it is your right as an employee to make sure that you have an adequate protection at your facility. So hand wipes, sanitizer, fogging in the classroom, fogging in your facility if you need. And we do have foggers that we actively used last year, and I'll let Riel kind of talk about the process of that.
Yep, the foggers were used at the beginning or the end of each day, and also on the bus drivers too. Kathy performed the fogging of the buses. And what that does is just puts a light mist into the air, a disinfecting mist, and then it lands on the surface and essentially disinfects the area. And it seemed to work pretty good for us last year, so we will continue with that. And at the same time, the foggers that we have at the school are also pretty, I guess they're entertaining too, because to see Frank walk around with an old backpack, Ghostbusters looking thing is always fun too. So, it's always a good laugh, but but just taking those procedures to make sure that we are making sure that this virus is not coming into our school. And I knock on wood because we're very lucky that it didn't come into our school last year. Very lucky, you know, that. And then grateful, we're grateful for that too. And that's why we should have a feast right away. You know, really want to have that feast.
We'll be
All
safe,
right.
safe.
Yeah, safety, safety.
Yeah.
All right. Also, I will just reiterate, we do have door prizes today, right, Nicole?
Yes, we do.
Did we say, where are they?
Frida's bringing them.
Frida's bringing them. So Frida, if you're listening, is this online too?
Well,
Yeah,
it's
online.
recorded.
It's okay. Frida, if you're listening, please get the door prizes here. Also, lunch is going to be served right at 12 sharp noon. So that's in 9 minutes. So we will be getting
I
there.
think we can go through a couple more.
Oh, we could get through that easy.
Yeah, okay.
All right.
So mask and temperature checks.
Also, yes, mask. Oh, question.
Emotionally, mentally, they're affected for a year and a half now, and even the parents are affected. So, we need to find ways or opportunities to physically component integrated and somehow safety manner because of the, well, there's a piece going on now. All the rules hours a week. So that's all I'm doing. So I know that some parents are going on. But the kids I notice are starting. So we need to find a balance to in our school system. So the community level, and we have to exercise. So that is a component that's like to stress coming back into school. I know we had a family, but there's still ones that do not participate in that level. We need to keep them physically active. The winter is coming along, school is coming, so we're trying that balance. And then I have a lot of kids under stress, their learning capacity is not good. So that's going to create a lot of support systems in the school. Teachers are gonna need that patience or that value of patience because kids are just not absorbing the information. So that integration.
That's right.
Yes, thank you for that, Audrey. Very true. And one great thing about the school, I don't know if you guys have been driving by there and if you've been looking in there, the caretaker Lance, I really like this. Him and Nicole for this summer. I'd really like to say hats off to them. Like the ball diamonds, they're in good physical shape again. The track, it's all cut there. And again, it died because of the dryness, but this rain here, I looked out there today, it's green again. So it's good to see that for the kids. But even watching the Olympics this summer, I was kind of, and I'm going to say this publicly, so I think I got to commit to this. I was watching the Olympics and I really got a kick out of the bike riding. And I was like, hey, we have a track behind the school. We can get the bikes. The kids can, you know, maybe challenge each other, do some laps back there, or just do, you know, stuff. You know, we should utilize that track a little bit better. So thank you for those words, Audrey. So maybe some bikes coming, director. Awesome.
Okay. Thank you, Headwoman Audrey, for your comments. And so we do have an emotional, psychological, we've looked at 4 areas to address our academic gaps. We're calling them, academically, we have a plan for academic gaps. And then the other plan that we have is called a reconnection gap. And that's what my meetings with the Ministry of Education, I sit on a PEP sector team, and that's what they call it. They call it a reconnection gap. And we want to reconnect with our kids. I think is the essence of what you're talking about, and get them ready to learn again, get them out back into the school. Some of our kids have gone missing. I'm gonna say that. Across the province, what they're finding is in our directors of education meetings, we have kids where they cannot find them. Even though schools have opened up again, some kids haven't chosen to come back to school to have face-to-face learning. Now, here's a stat that took place in the United States, in Los Angeles. In their inner city schools, over 60% of their learners are not coming back to school. They're not reconnecting back into the learning process, wanting to learn. Where are they? They're probably not doing good things wherever they're at. They're sitting at home, maybe getting into trouble, maybe, not having a purpose of where they need to be again. And so in our meetings with Dr. Kevin Cameron, he said, you must address the reconnection gap, he called it. We must find a way to reconnect with our community, get them to, and I see that even here, where is our community? Where are our parents? Getting them into that process again of when we call a meeting, they come, and we have to be patient with them. Audrey is saying practice patience, and that is true. So, getting them to come in, keep trying. And that will go with our children too, getting our teachers, when we address that reconnection gap, understanding what is an engaging lesson, understanding the physical component, as Audrey stated, get outdoors, get physically active, use our land base, use our cultural camps. We firmly believe there are 3 pillars that we firmly believe at Kakshue School: high excellence in academics, land-based learning and our language, and our sports academy. Those are our 3 pillars. And so our teachers know this, understand this. That's where we want to reconnect our kids to all 3 of those areas, okay? So back to the safety, I'm going to just quickly say there's still masking, there's still temperature checks that are going to be done on a daily basis once we head back to school. I'm going to work with our pandemic committee to see if our pandemic committee would recommend we have a security officer at the school. Last year we had 3. Maybe we don't need 3, maybe we need 1. But I'm going to take that back to the pandemic committee and go with a recommendation from that group. Okay, in terms of that. We are going to, with visitors, the front door will be locked, okay? And so visitors, when you come, just remember that you are going to have to be rapid tested before you come in, okay? That is going to be a standard procedure that for safety, for our children, for our little ones. You may be vaccinated, but some of them aren't. So to keep them safe, we want to do everything to mitigate against that. And so unfortunately, that open door policy that we've always had in our schools all these years, until we get everybody vaccinated, including our little ones, we're gonna have to keep that front door locked. Then when you come in, you will have to go through a rapid test. If you need to see a teacher or if you need to address that way. And illness, we talked about illnesses. If you're sick, you're gonna stay at home. And if your children are sick, you will keep your children at home, okay? Be very vigilant with that. Now today, we've handed out the rapid tests to every family here. Did everybody get a rapid test kit? I think Jana and Calvin are missing one. Let me get the one. Who else is missing one? Quick, I'm sharing this missing one. Part of today is we're gonna teach you how to rapid test. And that's, I do have our nurses on the line here. We're gonna go through, it's called the Test to Protect. Home testing kits. Are there any questions so far about our safety procedures that we're gonna maintain at the school? They're basically the same as last year. They're gonna be upheld. I think everybody in the community understood them. Our teachers understood them. We still have an isolation room, an illness isolation room, it's called. And so just a reminder of what that is. So if a child, we are taking a temperature check before they come to school in the morning. But if they come to school and they get sick at school, what do we do? So the procedure of that is that a teacher would phone down to the front office and that child would be brought down and they would go into the illness room, kept there. From there, we phone the parent and we also phone the health center. We talk to Dennis and to Nurse Amy. And the new nurse that's gonna come in after Nurse Amy is Nurse Abby. Because Nurse Amy is going on maternity leave. So Nurse Abby is the one that's going to take her place. So Nurse Abby would come over and assess the situation. But parents are going to be picking their child up, okay? Parents would pick the child up. And if Nurse Abby wasn't able to come over, then the parents would take the child over to Nurse Amy. Either or, okay? Whatever she's able to do. But that's the communication piece that the school and the health clinic really keep in touch with, okay, in terms of that. The school doesn't do any transporting of kids home if a child is sick at the school. Yes, Kathy?
That there has to be better communication from the school. After I'll tell it like it is. I was pissed off, because I'm the head bus driver, and we were going to go to the school. Security guard come out, just step out, exam on my throat. Another bus driver said, don't do that. We got into it because we were told you are not allowed in the school. When we are the bus drivers and we bring our children, we bring the kids. And then all of a sudden we weren't allowed in. And here comes a couple of next, another person, sat at the front office. And they had nothing to do with the school. I think that there definitely has to be better communication with everybody. And if nobody is really allowed in the school, then nobody should for these reasons. But I mean, bus drivers, carry our children, stand our children, all of us, but we're not allowed in the school.
Yeah.
Nobody that's going to follow there.
Yeah.
It still takes me off that we were treated like that. Less than, and nobody should ever have to feel like that.
Mhm.
So better communication for everybody.
Yep, you're right.
I actually remember that week. I think that's the week the variant was in Whitewood. I remember that now that I think back. It just showed up. The variant when it just showed up. Interesting.
Yeah.
Alrighty, thank you for that suggestion, Kathy. Iris. Oh, it doesn't.
Not only that, there was a couple times and I just stood up. Nobody was there. I got pissed off.
Okay.
Yeah.
We will do better.
Yeah, I think the
Do
number's
better.
2252 to the front office. 69. It's posted for visitors. Thank you, though, Iris.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then nobody answers the phone.
Oh, Frida just said nobody answers the phone. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, take care of that. I think we should get the phone connect it to director's phone, eh? So you get her directly. Eh? I think that would resolve all things. Or principal's phone, I would do it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, any more other suggestions? I do want to just kind of get moving here because it is 12 o'clock. Who can we ask to say the prayer for the food?
Well, I'll say all this bit suffices for the food. It's for prayer. This
Okay.
usually does, but.
Sorry.
No.
All right, we are going to break for lunch, just a quick 20-minute. Yeah.
So you know what? It's always easy to have a meeting where there's anybody bringing up something difficult. You know, I just thank Iris and Kathy for your suggestions and for your concerns, because we have to address everything. And, you know, saying stuff in a good way, bringing it up, we're going to get better. And that's how we get better. So, you know, I remember that day too, Kathy, and you and I talked about that. And Iris, and we do need to get better. Communication is always a key element, you know, to everything. So I think with rapid testing, let's talk about it a little bit more today. But with rapid testing, when we rapid test visitors, if bus drivers are rapid testing in the morning, I can't see a reason why you wouldn't be able to come into the school, Kathy. Last year was last year. We didn't have rapid testing, but this year we have the home test kits. So I think hopefully, if you're okay with that, Kathy, I think that addresses that issue, right? And same thing for Iris, you know, this year we have, if visitors come, you can come into the school. It's just, we're gonna ask you to rapid test, okay? Yes, Coco?
Thank you, everybody, for discussing I'd like to why elders and also the bus drivers are not included in the staff meetings. I try to ask when they can I come to a staff meeting, it's one part of staff. Discourage people to try to get involved. I think we need to talk about communication. Look at that.
Thank you.
I think COVID really had something to do with that. I will say that. Everybody's invited to every staff meeting, 8 o'clock Monday morning, every Monday morning. Everybody's welcome. That's always been very well established. And as far as COVID goes, a lot of our meetings were online for the last little while. And I know that you've been there for a lot of our meetings. And you said the prayer for a lot of our meetings. So, you know, just, I guess, making sure you guys are online. I can send an invite for the meetings. But, you know, yeah, we do want you there for sure. And bus drivers too, for that matter. You know, everybody, 8 a.m. Monday morning, there's Monday morning meeting. That's what time it is. And it doesn't change. So, yes, Kelvin.
Oh, I'm so sorry. You were sitting in the teepee. Yes, we canceled it online and Justin had put a kind of a stroke out on our first day and so greatly apologize for that. Yeah. Yeah, and I see when we talk about communication, I said to head woman this morning, you know, we have staff that has been on AL, you know, that kind of thing, and we want staff to take holidays, you know, we want them to use up their days and that's just how it is, you know, and, but sometimes when we have staff going on AL, some things, don't get addressed because we need to have somebody else in charge when you are gone. And, so I know Justin and I were kind of talking back and forth and he was on AL. plus is grieving too, so, you know, we apologize for that communication area there. Okay, so I think we're ready to eat. Oh, Iris has a question.
What about the Friday song?
So right now, we've approved, an adapted 4-day week. Some weeks are 5 days, some weeks are 4 days. But we have, a ministry approved, 345-minute schedule per day. So the ministry, most schools typically have 300, like next door. If you want to compare it to Broadview or Whitewood, their school days have 310 minutes per day. In our school, we run 345 instructional minutes per day. So when you run 345 minutes times a certain amount of days, that meets, it actually surpasses our ministry schedule right now. We are by law to have a certain amount of instructional hours per year, and we have over that. We have 15 hours over that. So we are looked after that way. So the day off on Friday is not for teachers. So some Fridays are off, some Fridays are on. And so some Fridays the teachers are working and they are taking all of their, during the week, they're not getting a teacher prep. Okay, so all the preps are taken on Friday. Okay.
She's laughing silence. She has to take her lessons. Or, you know, we're gonna have to pick it up. It's okay.
So the policy in post-sec where you only get so many months of consecutive funding, that isn't there anymore. It's that restriction has been lifted. So she can have as much funding as she needs to get her degree covered. But yes, you know, and this is a good consideration, Iris. I think as a community, we can talk about that a little bit more. I know this meeting really wasn't set aside to talk about the school year per se, but I greatly appreciate you bringing that up. And, you know, we could talk about that some more. Well, I don't think that's maybe appropriate to take a vote right now. But if that's something we want to change as a community, we can talk about that at another community session, okay? But thank you for that, and we will definitely keep talking about that, okay? Okay, so I think we're ready to eat. Are you ready, Lindsay? So we just want to thank Lindsay. Thank Lindsay and her team. Thank you, Deb. Who else is there? Oh, James. Thank you, guys. Okay, we're gonna hand it over to Lucille. She's gonna say a prayer.
Also, I seen Frida was up here with the door prizes now, so if you got your name for the door prizes, those will be done at the end of the draw, so you still got time to get here, get your name in for the door prize.
How are they eating? What's their
Elders first.
elders first?
Yeah, well, we'll start with our elders first. Elders first, if there's anybody that wants to grab a plate for any of the elders, you can grab a plate for them too. Start with the elders
Could we
first.
meet and keep meeting? Could we eat and meet at the same time? Is he?
Visit.
Okay, okay. So feeling-
Yeah.
Is this off? Oh, yeah, it is. So Joanne and they could see us.
She's still on.
They're still on up there.
Oh,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Always happens, right? No, I'm glad that they're bringing that
Oh,
up
yeah.
because we can,
Needs to be
address that.
addressed. Yeah. If you don't. Some people say. "Oh."
Yeah.
Can you hear me, Natalie? We're just breaking for lunch right now. So if you guys, can you hear me, Brenda or Joanne? Yeah. So if you guys need to break for lunch or anything, or just put your screen on black, I just wanted to show you maybe certain parts of who's here. And yeah, so at about, I'm thinking 1:45, we'll start back up again. Okay? So see you in a bit. I turned it so she could see.
I'm glad I'm not in front.
Oh, I don't. Doesn't matter. Yeah.
Elders didn't put their name. Here's a feedback. No, keep going. Elders, yeah.
Still lots of food, so if you want to take a plate, still lots of food.
Thanks for coming, Florence. Oh, yes, yes, you do. Colleague Joy asked, do you have to be present to win? And the answer is yes. Okay, so grab a dessert, keep eating dessert. We're gonna continue the meeting. Not this one. Again, if you're just getting here to the meeting, this is return to learning and return to work. And so I'm gonna just mention some of we've been really focusing on the safety and procedures at the school. We also have a daycare Head Start, we also have post-secondary, we also have adult learning, and also the sports academy. And we want to keep all of those entities up and going as well. And so I'm going to speak a little bit about the daycare Head Start. So parents should expect that, before you come or bring your child to daycare Head Start, they would be well. They would have no symptoms, okay? And then you're going to bring them, and once you bring them, same procedures as last year, they would be temperature checked, and a physical well-being check would occur, and hand washing station, sanitation station, etc. They have the fogging as well in the daycare, and met with Julia this morning, and we talked more about that again. And so as fall returns and we see the variant rear its ugly head again, the protocols must and have to come back. So those will be in place at the daycare Head Start as well, okay? And post-secondary and adult education. We have adult learners that are heading back to school. And so our post-secondary coordinator, Joy, and also our adult education coordinator, Frida, they deal with the adult learners. And we want to keep our post-secondary LFD learners safe just as much as we want to keep our younger kids safe. And so some of the students are deciding if they're going to go back to face-to-face learning in university. And some of the universities are offering face-to-face classes, whereas others are offering the online classes, okay? LFD for the trades, Polytech, most of the Polytech are face-to-face classes right now, and students are going back. Again, Saskatchewan Health Authority is recommending that, we bring and return all learners back to school. So whether they're daycare and Head Start, or whether they're nursery K up to grade 12, or whether they're university or Polytech learners, they're encouraging us to continue forging ahead, forging on with returning our learners back into their face-to-face learning environments. At the mall, we will have safety procedures in place. We do have a temperature check and a sign-in form. We have the lovely Anastasia that is cleaning for us at the mall, and the mall has never been so clean, so we just greatly appreciate her at the mall. And she is also going to expand her cleaning services, so she does the daycare as well and Head Start. And then as needed, she shifts over to the school. So some of the changes we're making in education is we're looking at ways that we can work smart. Having custodians in place has been a challenge, I'm gonna say that. We want good cleaners, and they are frontline workers, and so in saying that, we greatly value their services. And so our custodians and our maintenance guys will be part of their safety protocol is those high traffic areas. So wiping down those high traffic surfaces, doorknobs, door handles, not encouraging the drinking fountain, but encouraging the water bottles with lids and individualized, within the classroom. So keeping movement to a minimal and also keeping contacts to a minimal. Our nutrition and food programs, we have our head cooks here, Lindsay and also Deb. And so our meals will still be delivered and individualized to the classrooms. And we have a full food service once again. That was one of our pillars. How do I put that? Our work plan. As coordinators and as the director, we had to do work plans, and that is in one of our work plans, is to have a full food service. And so that's daycare has that, nursery up to grade 12 has that as well. And so that will be, hand delivered to each room. And Lindsay will have menus coming out, right, Lindsay? You'll have a monthly menu sent to homes, as does daycare. Yes.
I would like to know if those unhealthy meals are still given to our children, like craft dinner and things. That is not good for our kids. The kids could have that as a snack. The we're gonna provide food for our children, that it should be a good quality, good healthy meal. And portions are hard. Like little birds, a little small of soup and stuff like that. You give them a bowl. You have big boxes at the school. Don't disinfect it. And you just tell them how the better streamline and better. That is stuff that will get to school. My grandkids do that. I'm sure that my grandkids do that. Because they're still hungry for it.
Thank you for those concerns, Kathy. And yes, we're going to meet as a team in the kitchen to make sure that our portions are ready to eat. Because we are in a transition for the lunch. It used to be just a snack program. It's no longer just a snack program. It is a full service breakfast and full lunch. So yeah. I don't know. Sandwiches.
Yeah.
Okay, so suggestion is that we have hot lunch, and so when we meet, I'm sure those are down on the principal's agenda, when he meets with the nutrition program people. And we do have a dietitian that's available to us from the health department. So we'll work with Dennis to make sure that the nutritionist is sent over. Who is do you know offhand, Dennis, who the nutritionist is?
We're actually looking at vegetables. We don't have one to see for ourselves.
Okay. Okay, so as soon as we get one in place, we will send that dietitian to the school to sit with our team there, to sit with the cooks and go over an ample plan. I know what's really near and dear to the principal's heart is that we have wild meat served at the school. Part of food sovereignty, part of our land-based program, part of learning that surviving, we're moving into hunting season, and part of that, not even part of it, all of it is reclaiming our food. And so part of that colonization and decolonizing is reclaiming food sovereignty and making sure that we are accessing our Indigenous foods within our daily repertoire of food at the school. So I just had to give a little shout out to that, because I know Principal Riel, that's very near and dear to his heart. He is an avid hunter, and we teach our kids how to hunt at the school. We teach our kids how to gather and to live. And so and James, another land-based person here, you know, so I know that's near and dear to everybody's heart here, is that. Okay, so that's the nutrition program, the lunch and the breakfast. Extracurricular intramurals in the sports academy. We want our extracurricular to go ahead. The Saskatchewan Health Authority is telling us, please move ahead safely with your sports. And I know Headwoman Audrey talked about, you know, she wants to see physical activity increase, get back to that. You know, we've kind of become, we've got those COVID bellies, all of us, including myself, you know, because we've been at home, isolated. So we gotta get physical, we gotta get moving. And so we anticipate to have all our sports programs up and going. We anticipate to have our sports academy going. Brad was here earlier. We do have a changeover. Brad is an advisor now to our sports academy, and our head guy for sports academy, we transferred that responsibility to Dion Campbell, one of our teachers at the school. And he comes to us very versed in sports academy stuff. He ran, it's called POE, what was that called? Pursuit of Excellence. And that was the sports academy in Kelowna, I believe. That's where Ethan went, and we've had a number of our kids go to that POE academy there. And we're very fortunate to have Dion Campbell teaching for us at our school. So he will now be running the sports academy side of things for us. And so we will do that safely as well, okay? Yeah.
I was just wondering, what exactly is offered to the students that don't use sports academy?
Yes, thank you, Lucille. So the kids that don't choose Sports Academy have some alternate options. So there's teachers back at the school that will be offering them other electives. So there's music, dance, there's art. So there were other electives, and really happy to announce that once our trades lab, we used to call it the IA lab, Industrial Arts. Now we're changing the title to Trades Lab. And so where we have the Trades Lab, we are setting up, so it's going to be set up for the trades. So eventually, hopefully as soon as January, we anticipate that to be finished. And it will be set up for welding. We'll have 8 welding stations, electrical, carpentry, and plumbing. So in addition to anything else you might just run in there, but we're really happy to announce that we'll be probably the first school to have all 4 trades offered within the school. And not only that, but myself, Frida, and Joy wrote a proposal to the Saskatchewan Indigenous Apprenticeship Program this summer. We received the money. It's $144,000. It's for adult learners. And so the money is intended to hire instructors for, we called it multi-trades. And so really happy to work with our adult learning team, Joy and Frida. Together we co-wrote that, submitted it in. And so we are setting ourselves up so that the school is not just a school for nursery K-12. It is a community facility. It's open for all kinds of learning. And so it's up to us in the program, people in there, Riel, Joy, Frida, you know, to set up a schedule so that our MK-12 learners are looked after. And then also to set up a schedule to make sure adult learners can also use that facility for that too. So that's kind of how we're shifting and changing some of our program considerations at the school. I talked about academic gap, and so I want to really quickly, May and June, I pulled together a technical team with other technicians, other consultants. And I sit on a academic team. It's called the PEP team, the Provincial Education Sector Team. And that team had put together some plans for return to learning for academics. And so I used the framework that the ministry had and that I participated with. And of course, as we know, sometimes what the ministry has intended doesn't always work for us here. So we brought it home and looked at what does it mean for us here at Ochapowace. And so this was, for example, a plan that we put together. This one addresses numeracy, okay? And so we looked at three things: the current situation in numeracy at the school, the future state, conditions for success, strategic conditions, and the progress monitoring. And so we did this in numeracy, literacy, supports for learning, and supports for learning is a fancy word, but what it means is our students who have inclusive ed needs, okay? Our students who may have an IEP, a BIP, those types of students. And the last category was treaty ed and language. And within that, we didn't do a separate plan for our reconnection gap. What we did was within here, we set up a plan to address within academics and also within our emotional and spiritual needs. How are we gonna tackle the heart with our children? You know, how are we gonna get them back into that place of learning? And so we kind of embedded it into our strategic plans. Okay, so we're gonna post that on the website as Riel has talked to you about. And before I turn this over, I'm just looking at here. Rapid testing. I think we're ready to go into the rapid testing. So Natalie, are you there?
I am here, yes.
Okay, you want to turn your picture on?
Yep.
So thank you for hanging on the line, Natalie. We appreciate that.
Mhm.
And I just want to introduce Natalie Jones. She's been in all my meetings this summer and probably throughout the year, but I really got to know Natalie, you know, this last spring. Ochapowace, I signed Ochapowace up to be a pilot. We piloted rapid testing May and June. We were what they call early adopters. And we piloted the rapid test to transition us and be ready for what was going to come in the fall. I could already see that they were already saying we were going to have that fourth wave to be ready. Rapid testing was something that we were going to have to be familiar with. So I signed us up for that May and June. I bombarded Riel and the staff, Tabitha, and we set up that teepee outside the school doors there, and we started doing outdoor rapid testing in the teepee. And it went well, it was successful. And now here we are, it's the fall. And what do you hear everybody talking about? Rapid testing, rapid testing. You're gonna hear a lot about talk about rapid testing. I want you to remember the provincial system is different from us. We have choice. We have control over our system. In the province, in my meetings with them, they don't. They have to abide by whatever the SHA, whatever the government tells them, they must listen to that. So their local communities don't necessarily have the full power versus our system here. Chief and council have full control. you have full control as citizens over your system. So the stuff you maybe hear on the news doesn't always apply to us. We have to ask ourselves, what is best for Ochapois always, okay? And some of the stuff that they discuss at a provincial level, I'm gonna say they have, because they're dealing with cities, then they have rural, then they have up north, they have south, north, west, east. Our catchment area, our area here is a lot smaller. So I'm just gonna, without saying any more, Natalie, I'm gonna hand it over to you, okay?
Yeah, sure. First, I want to thank the elder for the prayer, starting things off in a good way today. Also want to acknowledge that I'm joining you from my home in Pilot Butte, so Treaty 4 territory. Thank you very much for allowing Joanne and I to participate and listen in. It's really good for us to hear the whole picture around school reopening. Sometimes we only hear our little pieces, and my little pieces is the testing world. And when you're fully immersed in one aspect, it's a little bit enlightening to be able to hear about the other components and how those are equally important, right? We lose focus sometimes. So thank you very much, Nicole, for inviting us to join your meeting today. So as Nicole said, we're at Indigenous Services Canada. We're a resource for you to utilize in the school reopening, giving some guidance around what you might consider placing in your plans, but ultimately the decision rests with you as a sovereign nation. So what I'm presenting today, I've tried to put something together that was very neutral, that is very clinical based, but I'm hoping it answers some of your questions about testing in general for COVID. So any questions you have on testing, feel free to ask. If you want to wait till the end, I may answer some of those questions during. It's only about 10 slides. So school testing is looking very different than last year. So many schools, most schools in First Nations did not incorporate testing into their school, mainly because they potentially were not open or not open fully for in-class learning. So I know Nicole had been an early adopter, the earliest of adopters, and was very much on board and advocating for, let's trial this. I want to know what this is going to look like, and how we can educate and use this as a tool, and did a fabulous job. So again, this year, Nicole's first out of the gate and saying, okay, we want to change it up and keep going with last year's strategy and add some other components. So provincially, very different. They're really taking the testing out of the schools. They're sending home kits for testing, and everybody, I believe, got a box of 25 Abbott PanBio kits to take home. And they're doing this in only certain schools. They're trialing it in the provincial schools, and I'm not sure which schools yet. In First Nations communities, we're not going to trial. We are going to say this is available for whomever has an interest to participate, and then work with individual communities to set it up in a way that meets your needs. Most of the spread of COVID that was caught from the school population was actually through contact tracing, traced back to being originating from the household. So that's why they're looking at, okay, maybe these kits need to go to the source and give people the power to test themselves, their family members, their household members, those that are in their bubble. Because that is maybe where the infection is first being transmitted. And if we can halt it through early detection, so it doesn't get into the classroom, so it doesn't get into the workplaces or to sports teams, etc., then that's probably the best strategy to get as far ahead of it as possible. So the provincial strategy will concentrate on providing those test kits to families with attending school or in that group that are currently ineligible for vaccination, so those under 12. Some schools in our communities would like to continue with a form of at-school testing, of course you can do that. MHO guidance, so Dr. Khan would provide a little bit of a, I use the word prescription loosely, a bit of a, this is who you should consider testing and how frequently in your particular school for the next, X number of weeks. And that prescription would be based on how much COVID activity is there in Ochapowace, how much is being transmitted in the school setting, are there variants of concern, hospitalization rates, ICU admission rates, all of those factors would play into Dr. Khan's recommendations. So I say all of this with the caveat that the strategy for school testing has been one with a continual moving target. And what I say today may change tomorrow. But this is what our strategy is for First Nations communities, and it's to be as flexible as possible to what it is that you would like to do in your communities to protect your communities, your schools, your students, and your family. Some of this, just the basics that I'll go through is sort of those whys and when. That's always good information to have. Early detection is your best bet, as I said, to stop the spread. So testing is voluntary. If it's being done in a school setting, parental or guardian consent is a good idea for us to have on file. And for everyone to know what's happening, that spirit of transparency and communication, because not every parent is going to be okay with their child being tested without them present, depending on what does COVID-19 mean for each individual. We've all been impacted differently by this pandemic, and we know that our children have different perceptions of what it would mean to be told that you might be COVID positive. And is that something that you're comfortable with? But I know that Nicole's put a lot of work into having the correct individuals available at the school, and a lot of really good training for those that are involved in the testing to know how to keep information confidential, and to get the parent involved or the guardian involved as soon as possible to be able to take the child home. So you're protecting everybody by knowing your status. With rapid antigen testing, there are some limitations. So it's almost, you're negative at the time of testing. Negative for the night is a catchphrase I've heard. It tells you at that point in time, and it can only detect certain levels of COVID infection. So if you are just getting the virus or you are on your way to recovering, it may not pick that up. So that's why when Nicole said the gold standard testing is the PCR testing that the community health nurses or the dental therapists do the swabbing for, those ones are your gold standard. Who should consider testing or getting tested? Everybody who wants testing should have access to testing. And whether that be for diagnostic purposes or screening purposes, there should be availability. And that's a real tenet that our province as a whole has gone out of the gates and is really leading nationally in a lot of the testing work. So we've really benefited from that. Any symptoms of COVID or that could be COVID, any close contact with someone with a known COVID infection, the rapid antigen testing is not the appropriate testing. It needs to be that testing that you get through your community health nurse, that diagnostic testing. If you are asymptomatic and you haven't been named as a close contact and you just want to know, rapid antigen testing would be appropriate. And it's really more of a, even though it's called a test, it's more of a screen. And the results are more meaningful the more frequently that you're screening. So it's an active type of a surveillance program. This is the box that you should all have, I hope. And this is what they look like. These are the little cartridges that are in the foil packages. I would caution you not to open them. They are light sensitive. So to keep them fresh, you might want to keep them under lock and key unless you're going to play with it yourself and do a test. But this product is the product that you have. So it's called the Abbott Pan Bio. It can be used by anyone. I kind of chuckled when I took home a box myself, because it does look like something that you could buy at the drugstore, like a pregnancy test. And that is purposeful. It's so that anybody can use it and interpret it. It's not a sophisticated instrument. Anyone over 12 can probably learn how to do the self-swabbing with the nasal swab themselves. There's lots of training materials available out on the internet. The SHA has some really great materials as well. So very much up to each community how they would like to go forward with the training, and perhaps Nicole, you can talk about that in a bit. But honestly, there's a card inside the package, inside the box, that does go over the steps as well. And for a lot of people, that is sufficient training. So it's really very much up to you and what your comfort level is. I don't know if this will play with volume. Let's see. Can you hear it? It doesn't really matter, it's instrumental, but I should have asked if everyone had finished eating. My apologies if anybody doesn't like those kinds of images. So that would be an example of how testing might look if it was performed in the school environment. So a tester wearing the personal protective equipment and disposing of the materials in a safe manner.
So you know what? we're gonna do it in the school, and we're sending home testing. So we're kind of doubling up here. We're gonna do both. So we're gonna send home parents with home test kits. And then the ones that maybe not want to do it, so we're gonna double up and make sure we still have in rotation. The rapid antigen testing at the school too. Stats here. What you're saying, Natalie?
Yeah, and that's perfect. That's like ultimate surveillance, really. That's attacking from all angles. So that's a great plan. And doing it at home, you're doing it on your family members. It would be a matter of washing your hands before and after handling the swab and the test cartridge itself. You can throw them in regular household garbage, particularly if they're negative. If you have access to biohazard containers, that's definitely, I guess, your preferred method of disposal, but it's not a requirement at this time provincially. So for household testing, I believe the majority of home testing supplies are probably going in our waste already. There may be changes to that. I'm not sure. So the recommended frequency of screening is 2-3 times a week. And that again it's the surveillance. An individual test by itself is not incredibly meaningful. It's the fact that every 2 to 3 days you're getting a negative result that allows for you to pick up early any kind of COVID infection. So again, if the testing is taking place in the school, the medical health officer, so in your case, Dr. Khan, should be consulted for recommendations on who should be tested and how often. And that'll really depend on what that activity looks like in your community. You saw this at the end of that video. And again, this is in the box on that card with all the instructions. It shows you how to interpret the tests. So there is a control line and a test line. I find this really confusing because a control line could be mistaken as COVID line C. So remember, your test result is the T. So the control line has to be present in order for a test to be valid. If you were to get this invalid result of nothing showing up or just the test line, you have to repeat the test. And in your boxes, you will see that there are 2 swabs, one labeled positive and one labeled a negative. Those are validation swabs that you really don't need to use those at all, but I keep them handy because if you get an invalid result, you may want to take a look and see if you take the positive swab and do the test with that swab. And not putting it in anyone's nose, just taking the swab out of the envelope and testing it. If it's still invalid, then that would be something that the company would like to know about because maybe there's something wrong with that batch of tests, right? I've heard of one invalid result in a First Nation community on rapid antigen test. But they repeated the test and got a negative result. So it could have been that a number of factors. The tests can't be stored outside of 2 degrees to 30 degrees. So they should be stored at room temperature and out of direct sunlight. So those kinds of things do sometimes make a difference in whether the test result would be valid, or if you open the cartridge and it's exposed to sunlight for a long time. So if you have both lines, you're positive. And if you just have the control line, that's a negative test result. It's really important to note again that these are not your gold standard tools. So if you get a positive result, it could be a false positive. There's a chance of that. But you really are encouraged to follow up with a confirmatory gold standard lab-based PCR test. So self-isolating would be your preference at that point, in calling 811 or your community health nurse to arrange PCR testing. Now, as we learn more and more about the vaccines, there will be at some point in the near future some guidance around what happens if you test positive on a rapid antigen test, but you've had 2 doses of vaccine. So I don't have that guidance yet, but that is something that is being discussed with a need to arrive at a decision fairly quickly. If you have a negative result, it does not rule out infection completely. And it does not change the fact that you still should wear masks, consider wearing masks, wash your hands, socially distance. All those other preventative measures are still to be followed. And testing in the context of rapid antigen testing or screening is basically another one of those tools in your toolbox to protect yourselves. The other limitations, and I think I've said them, but I just want to make sure that everyone's cleared too on this, because that's where we see probably the most. There's some issues sometimes where folks do believe that they're negative for a week if they've done a rapid antigen test, and that's not the way it works. So it is just for screening. It's not for diagnosis. And they are only supposed to be used for people who do not have symptoms or are not close contacts. So even if you have like a sniffle and you think, oh, it's probably allergies, but I'm not really sure, I'll do a rapid antigen test and it's negative, that still doesn't mean for sure that you do not have COVID. So yeah, that's testing in a nutshell. I'm not sure if that you guys had questions that you want to ask. I'd be open to that. Or if you wanted to move on in your agenda and save questions till later.
Well, thank you so much. Can you hear me?
Yep.
Yeah, thank you so much for that presentation. Can we give her a please round of applause? Now we wanted to be here today, but the restrictions would not allow her to be here. So technology and Zoomer and she's here. So are there any questions in the audience? We're going to go over, we're going to unpack the boxes today. That's our next step. So Natalie, thank you for being on call. If we could leave, if you want to stay online, stay online. If Joanne, we'll go to Joanne in a minute. We could do, I want to unpack those boxes with you, and I want us to actually go through the process of the rapid antigen, the pent-bio rapid antigen test together. And I do have Iris here with me, and I think I lost Frida, one of my testers. But Joy, she knows how to do this. Riel knows how to do this. Dennis knows how to do this. So I want you to open up your boxes right now. And Riel, Iris, Joy, Dennis, you can just walk around the room and assist people as they're doing this. So unpack your boxes, please. And I'd like you to take out, I'll do it with you. You're going to take your test kit home with you today. And you're going to find that this is not an intrusive test. It's a very simple, easy test. You will, so you're going to see your book. Everybody look up here. You're going to see your book. Put that to the side for now. You're going to grab your card. Put your card in front of you. Put your card right in front of you, please. That is your visual. And it shows you step 1, step 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then 8. So let's go through the steps. Okay, so you're going to take these out, put them in front of you. Take your tubes out. Put these in front of you. You could set your little box up if you want. Okay, this is where your tubes are going to go. So set your box up. Oh, James and Deb, do you need a box? Don't be scared now. Okay, these ones, remember she said, just put these aside. This is your positive and negative ones. Put these aside, she told you. Can see her up there, okay? Put those aside. These are your lids. These are your lids that are gonna go on these, okay? So if there's one, just you are here today, you just take out one. Okay, this one's for me. I'm gonna put it in my box here. There it's gonna be, in my box. Okay, I'm gonna get my lid out, get it ready. It's gonna just set it on top here for now. I'm not gonna turn it on. I'm gonna grab one of these out. This is it's called your rapid test device. Take one out. Open the package. It looks like this. Yeah. Take this out. Place it beside you or beside your box. Then you're gonna locate your solution. There's one solution box, one solution per box. One solution per box, so don't lose this. This is important. Listen to Iris over there. Okay, now, as Natalie showed you, here's your test tube. Gonna open it up, and in here, you're gonna put 5 drops. Make sure your bottom's tight on, put your 5 drops in.
Is 5 drops what you've measured to go to the line? Is that all it is?
Yeah, on the directions, it's 5.
Well, there's a little line.
Or the line is what Natalie's saying, okay?
Sometimes the sponge soaks up more than 5.
Yes, and so if 5 drops isn't enough, you fill it to the line, or you'll see, because sometimes the Q-tip, it sucks up the solution. Okay, has everybody put their 5 drops in? Put it back in your box. Okay, put it back in your box. Take out your Q-tip from your Q-tip bag. Take out your Q-tip from your Q-tip bag. Open it up. Carefully. Don't touch anything except your nose on that Q-tip. So you know when you go to the rodeo or you're at the powwow and you got boogers in your nose? And it's dirty because it's been windy and dusty. You know, you scratch to get those off. You're gonna swirl it around 5 times in each nostril. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Go to the other nostril. Scratch that nose. Just the top part of your nostril. You don't have to go way high up. Okay, look at Natalie. I'm gonna do it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oh, you shouldn't use the colored ones. Those are your, don't use these ones. Don't use these ones, Dennis. Use the ones that are in the bag, okay? Now go to your other nostril, scratch it up, get in there, get those boogers off. Okay, now put your Q-tip into your rapid test tube, into your tube. You're gonna break it off. Okay?
Actually, So first you want to swirl it
Oh, swirl it.
about
Sorry.
5 times.
Swirl it around, Natalie says. Swirl it around in your tube.
And the tube, you can feel it's kind of, you can squish it. So they recommend that you, after you swirl it around, you pull it out part way and you squish the
Squish.
cotton applicator to squish out
Squish it
something.
around. Squish it around. Pull it out, push it down, squish it. Okay? Put your lid back on after you break it off. So it should be in here like this. Now you're gonna unscrew your bottom, but before you do that, make sure it's over top of the little round part here. The little round part at the bottom of, I call it the Petri dish. I don't know what this is called, but I call it the Petri dish. The round part, okay?
Yeah, there's little 5 drops on the side to even show you where to put it.
You're gonna see it climb, that's normal. Now, okay, it's climbing. Can you see the climbing? That's normal. That's normal to see it climbing. It should be climbing. Can everybody see it red? Is it red and climbing? Yes? Yeah, so you see how quick this is, everybody? It's very quick. Very quick. Don't worry, it's gonna still climb. I know with every employee we did this with, they started panicking. Oh my God, it's going red, it's up there.
And even though you probably can read a result within a couple minutes, you're probably going to see as that liquid fills up that paper, that the C, the line under the control for C is going to show up pretty quick. But we still are not to read and interpret the test until 15 minutes. It can take 15 minutes. So you'll probably think for sure you're negative. And if you had a high viral load, it might show up faster that you're positive, but don't read the test for 15 minutes is the manufacturer recommendation.
Okay, so as Natalie has stated, we're gonna wait the required 15 minutes. You guys, so when you look at the instructions, 2 lines means you are positive, 1 line means you are negative. And almost every test that I've completed, whether it be on myself or an employee or on kids we've done, you can kind of see that control line identifying itself as Natalie's video is showing here. It starts to come very quickly. And even though I cannot officially say, because it has not been a 15 minutes for me, mine is showing a negative.
I guess that's the thing too, Nicole. If anyone's doing the test right now and they're thinking their result is positive, don't freak out. It's okay. We'll figure out.
Even if it was 2 lines, it's only a possible positive. This is
That's right.
only a screener. It's a possible positive, okay? It's only a screener. You still have to go to do a PCR gold standard test. Now over there, you guys are using that green thing. Remember, the green thing was one that you're not supposed to use. It's a positive result. Those are your use the green yellow ones, remember. Don't use those ones. You use the ones that are in the package. Okay? You use these ones, Jana. This. Not these ones. Don't use these ones to do these are your, if you're checking to see if your package is good. Okay, these are your, one's a negative control and one is a positive control. This is to see if your package is telling you proper, okay? Did I say that right, Natalie?
Yeah, it's for validation. So if you were to get an invalid test result,
Validation, she's saying.
if you were to get an invalid result, that's the only time you would use those, and it would be to check and see, is there something wrong with the package of tests that I have?
Right. So what Natalie just said is, if you're checking to see, geez, is there something wrong with my package? Let's check it out here. Doesn't sound good, does that? But your COVID package.
Well, I mean, yeah, and that's a good point too. So you don't necessarily even want to use those if you don't have any concerns with the package, because then you're wasting one of your test cartridges. So
Yes, don't use these, the pink and the red. Don't use these unless you have to, like to double check your package, okay? All right, I think, is there any questions, anybody? Any questions? I want you to safely dispose, not yet, but when we finish the 15 minutes, okay? Because it's always best to have a timer on things, but you're gonna safely dispose of this in the garbage with all your packaging too, okay? And so mine is showing the one line across. How is everybody's? Did you get your results so far? Showing up? Lloyd, you got your results? You're good? So you can kind of see, was that intrusive? No. Was it easy and quick? Yes. Could you use this at home? Yes. Will it give you a little bit of a peace of mind? Say you go, we're all gonna probably head to the Pakwishtahoe powwow, are we not? Let's be honest here. You probably are going there. And I'm gonna tell you, I'm gonna head to a rodeo. We want to continue what we're doing, but we need to do it safely. We don't want to spread COVID. So you need to screen before you go to the powwow. Screen yourself, right? Give yourself the rapid test. Give your kids the rapid test. Then guess what? You're gonna go tonight to the grand entry. Then tomorrow, maybe or the next day, you're gonna screen yourself again. And you're gonna say, because there's gonna be all kinds of people there that you don't know what they may or may not have, correct? So screen yourself again, because the sooner you know, or it may be possibly detect something, the sooner you can kind of put yourself in isolation to go and then get a gold standard PCR test, okay? They are recommending that employees do this at home before they come to work. They are recommending that parents do this at home before you and the kids go anywhere. Bus drivers, teachers, okay? Basically, everybody, we're recommending that you do this. Do you have any comments? Go ahead.
No comments. Thank you for putting us through that demonstration of the rapid testing. Quite a thorough we got to do it actually on ourselves practical. So that was awesome. Everybody except for the principal. The principal's immune to COVID. No, I'm just kidding. Just kidding. No, but this is a lot better than those other ones, but nonetheless, if these ones are positive, the next step is to self-isolate, get to the nearest, testing place and get the, actual, the other
PCR.
PCR test, yes, so. Yes, thank you very much for that. Any other questions out there on the floor, ladies and gentlemen? Any other questions? No questions. All right.
So we can let you go, Natalie.
Yep, thank you very much, Natalie. I know we already gave you a round of applause, so I guess we can give you one more round of applause. Thank you, Natalie, for coming out today for my end.
Oh, I can't wait to come and meet you all in person. So have a great rest of your meeting. Take care.
Sorry, Natalie, you won't be in for the door prizes today, however. No, I'm
That's
just kidding.
okay.
I'm just kidding.
Lunch, too.
Okay, have a good one. Thank you. I'm teasing. I like to tease a little bit, so. All right.
Does Dennis want to have anything before we introduce Joanne?
Dennis?
Yeah, ask Dennis.
All right, Dennis, I would like to call up Health Director Dennis. Dennis Bear up. Dennis Astamuta. Right on, there he is.
Then after Dennis, we'll go to Nurse Joanne.
Okay, after Dennis gives his few minutes here, we'll go to Nurse Joanne next. Thank you, Dennis Bear.
Thank you, Riel and Nicole. On a chair, you want to put this on a chair? Just put my book on there.
Sure. Yeah, this is our nurse.
Oh, okay,
She can see you
okay.
and
Hi.
she can hear you.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for the prayers today. Blessings, a beautiful day to be alive again. The Creator, thank the Creator for being here. And for our families, having some bad luck the last few weeks. And thank the Creator for giving us the strength to move forward with our community. And again, I just want to thank you all for being here and helping Nicole on back to school, her project, her protocol on some of the things they're going to be working with. I don't want to take up too much of your time here. I'm still trying to recoup from last week, a little bit tired yet, and I'll share a little bit about what we do and what we're going to be doing. Basically, I guess we are in the fourth wave now. Canada-wide, province-wide, First Nations. We do have a little bit of stats, I guess. Presently, right now, I don't have all the data right now, but the office, we provide online on the website all the data from the province and different, even our community. Justin posts online for us, for those that can't make it to the health office. We're basically about 70% vaccinated at all the 12 years and up. And the majority of them are children under 12, so we got a lot of them, and but we hopefully will be working with them, you know, down the road, as Nicole was saying, that they are still doing research and stuff like that on providing our children with vaccinations. So hopefully in the near future we can reach that 100% with all our membership. Just a little bit about us. COVID-19 triggered a lot of issues in our community, with suicides and addictions and this sort of thing. So really played havoc on our community, our young children. I heard the mention there was like we're lacking activities and trying to get those back on track with our young people, and us in the health department, we're trying to we're trying to get out more to the community, more home visits. So this is kind of a change again from last year where everybody had to stay put, and we're just starting to get into the swing of things, and come, I guess, September, I think we should be in full swing to hopefully continue to meet with our members wherever they may be. And we're trying to get away from always coming to the health office. If we can go and visit you, make appointments with you in your own home, and also follow our COVID guidelines, our safety measures, that we'll do that. So yeah, so that's what we're trying to establish in the next little while here. Right now, all I can mention is we have 6 positive cases in the community. We have 16 are in isolation right now. 4 not in the community, are isolating off reserve someplace with family members, and we have 1 Delta variant, a serious one that's here. So we really have to be mindful in how we maintain our safety protocols, what the group has been talking about, washing the hands, and just the little things, maintaining our 6 feet, stuff like that in small confined spaces. And yeah, so we continue with that. At our health office, again, I mentioned we're commencing our home visits. We're trying to encourage to get out a little bit more. We will maintain our standards as staff and go into your home with masks and have our sanitizer and stuff like that. Just to keep you safe in your home. And one thing I just want to mention. We will not be assisting people that haven't got vaccinated. A lot of staff are indicating their concerns of having people in their vehicles that are unvaccinated, and the potential of passing that on to their own families. And some of their families are unvaccinated as well and have little children in their homes. So it's a little, they're worried. So we will. That won't be a practice. We'll try to find a way to meet that demand, that need for transportation. Encourage family members to step up and look after other family members that'll come in our newsletter, feeling that your family members reach out and help your family members that are less fortunate to have vehicles and this sort of thing. So really, please help them out all you can. We will be, I think Nicole is part of our group here. We will be starting up our pandemic committee meetings again. So, we want to be more proactive in the pandemic coming up, the 4th wave. So we have to be mindful, and our cases rising and increasing, and how we're going to deal with that. And the Lord knows we don't want to get into a total lockdown like what happened, over the past year, where everything is shut down. But if we don't follow, we're not safe, then things obviously are going to happen. We go to large events, make sure that, now that you have these COVID kits, that if you have family members going to football games, ball games, hockey games, whatever it may be, get them to test and stuff like that, and try limit, I guess, contact if they be, out in concerts or whatever, whatever event that they're going to. We do not have a pandemic coordinator right now, but we are looking at in-house to have one at our side until we post for another pandemic coordinator. So that'll be coming up soon. So that's one thing that this individual will be responsible for, is ensuring that all protocols, staff events like hockey games, whatever, that we're still maintaining safety in the community. So and they'll keep us organized, I guess. A lot of us have a lot on our plates. Will kind of guide us, through maintaining that safe environment. If you come into our office, a lot of our professionals are asking that you put on a mask for that short time. They themselves will be masked when they meet with you. So in turn, they're asking that the community, when they come out and visit, our professionals, that put on a mask for however long that you come and use our services, our therapist, our nurse, and whoever else, our wellness staff, stuff like that. So yeah, that's all we ask, and that's just another way to be safe with each other. We ask again, as we've probably mentioned many times, is if you have symptoms, we ask that you isolate yourself for I think it's 3 days, I think it is, until your symptoms are gone down or left you. So, and then if they proceed, then we ask that maybe it's time to get tested, if it's, continuing your cough or whatever it may be, just to be safe, get yourself, phone the office, make an appointment for a test, and then we'll set you up with the nurse and she will do that. Obviously we discourage, doing that test here with these kids. We're not trained on shoving that swab straight up your nose. It's a little difficult to handle that enough, with the nurse doing it. So it's a little tough. We discourage you from doing that. I myself can do the rapid test. We are going to implement that within our staff. Some of the staff are hesitant to even look at it. I'm sure it's like that all over. They don't want to be near people and test. So we will be selecting a few within our health department that will be able to provide that test. I will test all our staff, show them how to do it, and they will be there to serve it. If you feel you've been around someone, as they mentioned in this presentation, you're around someone who's COVID, don't be afraid. Call the office, go for a rapid test, or go see Nicole Education, or give her a call. Give us a call here, and we'll try to set you up with a rapid test, and then you can go from there. Just for information on our services and health, we are organizing community health fair, and this is where you're going to meet all our staff, what they do, and if there's any more COVID guidelines or policies, procedures, we will have information, presentations at this health fair. We will have different things happening throughout the day, maybe some speakers. We haven't finalized the agenda yet, but I'm hoping to have that through our Addictions Week. I think that's in September, October. I can't remember exactly the dates they had it in the past, but we are putting one together, a health fair, and it'd be a good idea to come and just learn about who are your service providers within the community and what they do. There's so many, information is perhaps not getting out to the people on what we do. So we're going to change it up a little bit. We're going to hand deliver a newsletter coming out probably within the next week on our same services and who people are again, and some upcoming events that are happening in our community. So we will make sure that every household gets one, as we are hand delivering them. So you can expect to see us around the community in the next week or so. We also want to do a survey. Maybe we'll do it at the health fair on what health should be doing to increase, services in the community. So we don't have all the answers. We will try our best to provide good, high-quality services, as our mission statement states, and what the high-quality services mean to the health services. We did a meeting or a planning session and went over a lot of the different issues in the community, such as addictions, suicides, workshops for personal development, stuff like that. A lot of things we got out of that meeting. I think Audrey, Councillor Audrey, Chief Margaret, and Samuel, and some of and then Kathy from as part of that from Yorkton perspective. So a lot of good people we had, frontline people coming up with a lot of issues our community is facing. And we got, as opposed to trying to put them under the rug, we need to deal with them, because they're always going to be there. Because I told our people that back in 1992, we did some issues surrounding our community, and they're still there today, you know, and that's how many years later, we haven't dealt with them. So we gotta really, you know, put these action items to work and assign them to different people. Some of the key areas that we came up with for us from a health perspective is crisis housing. We have homeless people, homeless individuals that need housing. How are we going to address that? You know, that's an issue because our staff gets stressed out. It's really hard taking at home with you if you have no solution. For the weekend, we put them up for a hotel or something, you know, just to get us by for the weekend. So we're trying to work with housing and other departments to how we can address that housing crisis in our community, because that affects us indirectly because our clients need a place to stay for broken homes and this sort of thing, children as well. The other issue is addictions. Again, drug, alcohol, big issue in our community, and we're dealing with that. And we have to reach out, you know, to our different departments, our leaders, you know, to make some tough laws for us, in order for us to be successful. Because we could only be successful as much as our community, you know, wants us to be successful. We can only do what we can, and that's it. We can maybe band-aid them, taking them to a center, but they come home, they're still in the same old environment. So we got to find out how we're going to do that. And one way we decided to do that is a good aftercare program, a strategy that we take Dennis to the center, we bring him home. We just don't leave him. We got to work with him for a few more months until maybe he's got a job, maybe, you know, things are looking up for that family. So those are the things that are changing, you know, within our system and our process. And we need, as a community, we ask our community to help us too, you know, because we can only do so much, and we need to ask our community to follow, you know, unwritten laws about drugs and stuff like that. So we really need our community to help us maybe bring to the forefront, you know, some of the issues that are confronting our community. If you want any more information on COVID, the staff, stuff like that, go to the website. We post there every so often. You know, some of the concerns and what's happening not only in the community here, but in the province and Canada-wide. So there's a lot of good information that Justin posts for us online. One of the areas we thought that will deal with suicides, addictions, we got to find the root of the issue, problems, and we're hoping to bring back personal development into our community. It's been absent for how many years now? So we really need to find the root of the problems that are affecting our people, and through the intensive training program, we will have facilitators, trained professionals that will extract that information and hopefully work with that individual to, help them with coping in their lives. And we will be sitting with Audrey, Margaret, and our professional therapist, and whoever wants to get involved and help us develop a good intensive training program that's going to deal with these things. We're really looking for that kind of assistance and guidance to put that project together. Okay, so that I'm really happy for that. I'm excited about that. I think we're going to get funding from prevention to do a lot of those personal development trainings, and so we will make that a priority in our community. And again, it's not just because we want to do it, it's because we have issues we have to really truly address. Okay, so that's exciting programming coming downstream. Another area, I think Audrey, maybe I'll ask her to say a few things. The hospital, I think we're looking at, are we getting positive feedback on that? I think we may be getting our hospital back. So in Broadview, so better than going to Moosomin or wherever. So, but a lot of people, thanks to the people that signed the petitions and the leaders like Audrey, Margaret, and the mayor of Broadview, I'm in close contact with all the time, and getting, getting us, organizing us, and getting us all together and signing that petition to open our hospital again. And getting us, those services are much needed, thing for not only for us, but our neighboring communities and the towns of Broadview. I guess that's all I have for now. I don't want to take up too much more of your time. This is a good thing, and I'm glad Nicole and her staff are rolling out a plan for school, because our children are, a lot of them going to be unvaccinated in the schools. We really need to do our jobs in our homes, making sure that we're safe and practicing, cleansing our homes and our personal hygiene, stuff like that. So, and then sending them to school, and I'm sure there's going to be security measures in school. Just a few little hiccups here and there, but we're not perfect, but we are putting plans in place, and I thank Nicole for that, looking after our children and her staff. So with that, thank you. Have a good afternoon, and Audrey, you want to come and say a few words? Okay, yes.
Okay, yes, thank you very much, Dennis, and Nicole and Bill. I want to just back on the vaccination process. As you know, we need to still get to the ones that are not vaccinated. Those are the ones that are the ones that the rates are climbing due to that factor. Now, the province opened up the door, you can go out there, not wear a mask, no procedure. So we need to have that plan in place in order for our staff vaccinated. That's something important, because we're going out there to the community, right? And we're going out there inside the community. So very important to protect our staff, our employees, and the children we're putting your children at risk if we continue to not get vaccinated. I know there's some belief systems that come along with it, why you want to do that. And also, there's probably a lifestyle that maybe they have no control of, and it's time that we need to go get them and bring them to do the process to get vaccinated. Some are retired at home, where do I get vaccinated, but do not make the move to do it, so they have to come on, get their vaccination. So very important to do that. The component of the children, children, as I could be my grandchildren for them, I have to muscle them now, and three of them. And you know what, muscle them. Okay, to do that. Because I don't be turned off or not to keep on with the swab. So very important to do swabs and keep track and keep prevention. That prevention is very important. We're wanting to do the education component, education. That's the component that our change our lives. From future if we're having problems with our issues and because COVID did a lot of things to us in our home. And we shut down. Every home was affected. And I told we have to get on that box, and we have to get on the air. In order to feel good about ourselves. That healthiness about ourselves, that happiness, we always want to get to it. So we need to keep on working on that, because the children are important in school. Every one of the staff, the elders, the janitor, schools are the ones that are looking at the kids. So when our parents, children are there, and you educate. So that's the and I'm hoping that we can enhance it and look at the opportunities that we saw or heard today about communication and about the healthy eating, healthy foods, all those things. We can start creating and working together. I wrote them down, like, make them to these are the issues that we want to. And so we need to address it, not just leave it. So, so I'll be emailing Rio and Nicole and also managing operations. These are the ones that we need to get on. This is the people, that group of people that was there, they want to work on these issues. We'll go through that process and the post-secondary also. Post-secondary, thank you, Joy, for looking at our post-secondary. Because we're sending a lot of our post-secondary now on to reserve, so we have to look at them and see. Make sure they have the education to go along with it, because when they go out there, you don't know what they're doing, that's going to affect their schooling then. So very important to do that as they go along. So thank you very much, Nicole, for the education, the awareness that we have, the wonderful food that was cooked. You guys are one of the good cooks, so I think we should be eating around here. That's that. What I want. So thank you, everybody. Passionate here.
Okay, is there any questions? And then we have Nurse Joanne Bryant on the line here. She's going to talk to us about pediatric vaccines.
I wanted to ask how, if we have any kind of statistics of the number of people that live on reserve that refuse to get vaccinated. If they know individuals that are refusing it, what do you do? What are you doing? We talk about keeping everybody safe, but there are a certain segment of individuals out there that believe that it's against their human life. Nothing to do with health. It's their own needs. What can we do with those individuals? We have cases, jeopardize other individuals that have these.
Yeah, those are really valid questions, and I think as a community, in my last briefing note to Chief and Council, I did ask Chief and Council, in the considerations column, when I summarized some considerations, and one of the considerations I brought up was mandatory vaccines versus non-mandated vaccines. And, it's a hot topic across Canada. And, right now, the federal government has legislated mandatory vaccines for their employees. Again, that's the federal government and their employees. We are a nation, as a nation, our chief of council and the citizens make their decisions on what is mandatory or not mandatory. So, yeah, I'm gonna hand this over to Dennis or Audrey. Which one would like to talk on that?
Thank you, good question, and this will be discussed at our next meeting. Unfortunately, we don't have the answer today on mandatory vaccination, but we do it or not, and what rights are we looking at as far as individuals? Maybe it's different if they're not working for the community. Those are the issues we've got to deal with. Is they work for the community, and then what is their relationship as far as community engagement, this sort of thing, and how are we gonna, I guess, follow the government, or are we going to make a decision that is mandatory? It's a good question. We do have that. People that, I guess that haven't been vaccinated yet, and I guess we need to determine if they are not wanting the vaccination, or they just haven't had the opportunity or the time to get vaccinated. We will know all that, once we get back rolling here with our pandemic committee, and also, that's the data that we are going to be looking for as well, so we will have to turn to the nurses, for those, that information, unfortunately, names are out of the question, we do not get that information, but we will get numbers for sure. The number of people that haven't gotten their vaccinations, and for what reasons as well. Thank you, good question.
I'm gonna just say, as a director with teachers, principals, vice principals, daycare workers, my preference, I'm very upfront about it, is that everybody that is teaching and working in our daycare, in education, will set everybody be vaccinated. That's my preference. But that is just my preference. So that has to be a directive that is coming from our leadership. And citizens, you need to speak out to leaders, to tell them what you want. But I'm not even sure how we all feel as principal, we all the principal of the school. But being that our next guest speaker is going to talk about pediatric vaccines. Right now, we have vaccines for 12 to 18 years old. And I did go in and meet with the 2 health nurses week before last, I think it is. And I asked them to consider coming in with vaccination during at the school. I would like to see that happen. Okay, maybe I'm front about that. I would like to see that happen. That is what happens right now in the provincial schools. I want everybody who's able to get a vaccine to have every opportunity to get it. It's the easiest way you can do it. If you need to have it right within the schools, we're not disrupting anybody's time or anything like that, then so be it. But I really want, that's what the doctors are telling us, the way out of the pandemic is get your vaccines. And I don't want anybody, none of us do, we don't want any more sickness, we don't want anybody to die, right? So we have 5 active cases right now, and what they're saying about the cases that they're seeing across Saskatchewan, factually, 87% of the cases they're seeing right now are unvaccinated people. So it's unvaccinated people that are getting sick, very sick. Okay, you don't want that. When you get vaccinated, it doesn't mean you're not going to get COVID with the Delta variant. You can still get that. But the chances are actually 98% of people that are double vaccinated. I say double vaccinated. Important that you get both. Some have got one, and then they got the second virus, and the baseball started, stimulus, and then everything started. And then we're like, oh, relax, we forgot about vaccination. You gotta get back to it and go get your second shot. You gotta have 2. And then they're even talking about for a certain age group right now, maybe getting a booster. Now that has been approved, but they're talking about that and they're in discussion with that, okay? So as much as we can do to help ourselves, we need to do that. We are in control of that. We can do that ourselves rather than have to have leadership mandate stuff like that. So please spread the news to your family, to your friends, to anybody that's going to listen in a positive way. There's lots of propaganda out there. Here's a disclaimer. Probably my husband was one of those guys, a redneck cowboy guy, who didn't really believe COVID was real. And then his brother got sick, Courage, Then our oldest daughter got sick, Natanis. It is real, and you can get really sick. These were healthy people. So, and then I said to him, you must get vaccinated, Charlie. You have to. You can't live in the house with me. I said, you're not going to be vaccinated. So, I was so thankful for our whole family to be vaccinated. I was so thankful for that. And I'm so thankful for Ochapoways to be very proactive with the vaccinations. And, we as a community, as a nation, we were ahead of the game in those vaccinations. We were ahead. Our teachers in the school were vaccinated way before provincial teachers ever were. Did you know that? They were our workers prioritized. So, and not just citizens from Ochapoways, all people who worked here. So you looked at the big envelope and you said, anybody that works here that has to be living and working with us is going to say get vaccinated. So those are all really proactive measures, and I just, I thank the leadership and the health department for really being vigilant about that. Okay, so is there any other questions before I go to our pediatric vaccine nurse here, thank you, Joanne, she's been waiting, and she's going to talk to us about the next controversial issue, pediatric vaccines. Vaccines for 11 years to 5 years. And we've got to ready our families because we already know there's vaccine hesitancy in the 12 to 18, and there was vaccine hesitancy, with our 18 to 30-year-old guys and girls. We have better statistics though as we get up there, like the 40-year-olds, there's a higher vaccination rate, the 50s, the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. High rates up there, lower as you get younger. Why? Because we think we're going to live forever when we're young. We do. We have that drive fast, live hard mentality. So, but they can still get very sick. And that's what they're really missing the boat on here. So, Joanne, are you there?
Yes, I am here.
I think she's trying to, there she is.
Hi, sorry.
Can you hear us, Joanne?
I can hear you. Thank you. I want to thank you for inviting me. I have to apologize that I was, oh, I'm off mute. It could be my computer. Is that working yet?
I can see your mouth moving.
Okay.
But we can't hear you. Can you hear us?
I can hear you, so.
You can hear us. Do you think you should log out and then log back in and try again?
Okay, I'll give that a shot.
Just put my tech hearing on here.
Okay, see you.
Okay, just log out and then click back on and make sure you click computer audio. Okay, so I'll do, I don't know what's that. Elevator music. Does anybody have a question before she logs back on? I'm trying to get audio with her. Brooklyn, did you have a question? Are you trying to ask a question before or no? No? Calvin asked one? I would like them to it to be, but it's not right now.
Hi again, Nicole. Can you hear me now?
Calvin's asking, is it mandatory to have to be double vaccinated in school? Right now it is not. He's asking, is there any action taken against if you weren't vaccinated? And I said, not right now. We are needing decisions to be made with leadership.
It's not the same question. The students that are not vaccinated, are they allowed to go to school?
Yes, they are. So students who are not vaccinated are currently allowed to go to school.
So until we have more decision or some more discussion on this.
Back to my question. 4 days or 5 days. In that survey that done, the parents are noticing.
It's, yeah, we do a survey.
Also, there's Jack, this is what, here's the council.
Good question. We could have one. It's a really good suggestion.
Okay, let's try
Our speaker again.
Are we plugged in? Oh, just a second. Maybe this isn't plugged in.
OMG. Okay.
Let's try it.
Okay, try again. Hello, Joanne.
Hi, Nicole, can you hear me?
Oh my God, Joanne, it's unplugged.
No problem. I am technologically challenged, so I always have great anxiety when I do Zoom meetings. I may turn down my volume here.
Okay, I'm gonna hand it over to you, Joanne, and you can start your presentation. And I'm gonna make sure I press the share the screen, and if you have anything you need to share, go ahead, okay?
Actually, Nicole, you don't need to share a screen. I was only told about the meeting this morning at about 11, so I don't have a lot to discuss. Just because the vaccine for the 5 to 11 age group has not been approved by the Public Health Agency of Canada or the National Advisory Committee on Immunizations. So we don't have a lot of information about the vaccine yet. We have heard that it may be out by the end of October for that age group of 5 years to 11 years of age. The formulation may be different. The amount that the children get may be different as well. But we also have heard that they could experience the similar side effects that we are telling anyone 12 and up. The sore arm, the feeling tired, and just feeling under the weather for a couple of days. Those are the biggest reactions that we've seen. And just a little bit about my background. I have been a public health nurse for 31 years, providing immunizations in Regina. And then I did move to File Hills Capel Tribal Council to be their team lead for about a year. And then I joined with the South Service Center as their float community health nurse. So I have been privileged to be able to help Amy with some COVID testing and some vaccines. And for the last 5 months, I've been working out of Regina to help assist the education, the support that the frontline staff need to provide immunizations for COVID vaccines. So big learning curve, a lot of information has been shared, and it seemed to have changed so rapidly at the beginning. And we have slowed down at the beginning as well. I know that we had difficulty with access to the vaccine. So now we have plenty of vaccine in the province to administer to anyone who wants it. I did hear that there was some questions about whether or not the vaccine, COVID vaccine, would be mandatory. And it is certainly discussions that are out there, but I'm sure the decisions to have it mandatory would be a long process. We do know that with COVID vaccine and just living with COVID vaccine long-term, the first thing to do is to get vaccinated. And I know there is a lot of people that are hesitant. They may not trust the vaccine. And if that's the case, I would encourage anyone to sit down and even contact the nurses, Abby or Amy, and answer their questions that they may have. They don't need to get immunized, but even just being able to talk to someone about their concerns may help as well. Nicole, you did mention at the beginning of the meeting that we are having the pediatric rollout meetings on what is the best way to provide the vaccine to the 5 to 11-year-olds. It would be something that we know we would get consent from the parents or the guardians. It's not a vaccine, or any vaccine do we ever go into the school and just pull the kids out of the classroom and start immunizing. We do need a written consent from parent or guardian. So we'll be looking at each community on how the best way to obtain the consent for the children. I'm not sure if anyone has any questions. I know because it's so early on yet, hopefully by beginning of September, we'll have more data, more information. So kind of just I feel very privileged that I could join in on your meeting, because I currently just sit in my little house trying to answer everyone's questions. So it's really nice to engage with real people.
All right, so we have any questions? So as Joanna stated, there is I sit on a pediatric working group, and it is not approved yet, but it is going to be approved. So, you know, we want to ready our community, ready our parents, so that when it is approved, you know, we have them ready. They're ready to sign up and get it done. And the sooner we can get that done, the sooner we can, I don't want to say breathe a sigh of relief, but a little bit for me, like, you know, working with all a lot of kids in that school, you know, and we have the highest numbers in our school that we've ever had, and I'm very proud of that. We've got a beautiful school. We want to keep it open, and we want to keep teachers in front of our kids. So, any questions? Okay, Councilwoman Audrey.
Yes, as we roll out the vaccination, what I do see is, because we
Hi, Nicole.
Sorry, our power went off there.
Hi.
Oh, she's on.
Hi, sorry. Are you having a storm?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, it's coming. It'll just slowly, the light will get there. Yeah, we're not sure if there's a storm out there or not, but we can hear you, and head woman, if you can probably hear head woman. We're slowly getting you back up on our.
Oh, there I am. Yikes. So then I missed the question. I apologize.
We're just trying to get our microphone on now.
Sure.
So, Riel, maybe yell it out.
Okay, the question I have is, because we have a lot of kids, we have a lot of children, and the amount of vaccinations that we're going to be rolling out as we have that plan put in place, the parents are going to be quite hesitated about the vaccination and worried about it because we had so many side effects from the adults when they got vaccinated. So we wanted to make sure we have those resources in place, not just one nurse, but a few more resources to be available at the time. Because when we roll that out, we got to be ready and not wait for time for just one nurse to get to everyone. We want to make sure we have those resources in place. So just to let you know that if we can have more of the resources in place when we do have it.
Great.
The community, that's the community's needs.
Okay.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is it would be nice to have a team of nurses come
Yes,
and
yes.
immunize as many as we can in a short amount of time.
Yes, because that education is important to the parent to
Right.
assure them.
Right. So we can get the kids back to school.
Yes. Okay.
Awesome. Thank you for that. I will keep that in my notes for the next meeting we have tomorrow.
Is there any more questions? In regards to the pediatric, okay, Joanne?
I am just wondering if it would be helpful that once we get all the information about this vaccine, that there's a PowerPoint presentation that could be shared with all communities so that they can put it on their website or put something up to inform everyone, if that would be helpful.
Yeah, I like that idea. I think the more awareness we could build, the better. Yeah. We'll work with Dennis's team to make sure. Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions? Are you concerned about having your younger children vaccinated? Are you scared? Or like, yes?
I seem to have more questions than others. I would like to know, do you think that parents would prefer to be with their child when they get the vaccine? Or is it fine at certain grades that we just immunize the children? Like say grade 5 and up can come from the classroom and get immunized. I'm kind of thinking back to the H1N1 time that we had.
So that's something we discussed in our meetings, is whether we have an older present, meaning a teacher's aide or a teacher, you know, of our younger children, obviously, holding the child on the parents' safety there. So that's kind of what Joanne is getting at. Is what's your input to that? I see heads nodding. Have the parent there? Would you be okay with the older? Would you be okay with them being called down to be vaccinated if the child is older? What do you feel comfortable with? feels, that Iris feels they want to have, they want to be there. For their grandchildren, that's how they feel, yeah. You want to have an option of being there or having an older? Want it all one way or all the other way?
I think options.
Because what your working task group, it could be stated, you have to be there. It's just mandated to all parents have to be there. Or it could be, yes, you could be there if you want to, if you can't be there, and have a folder available at the school. It could be a folder child, you weren't able to get time off work like that. So how do you prefer it? All one way, combination of ways. What's your thoughts?
There's programs there that are taking care of grandchildren that can't hold them down, they need to be held down, but they can be there for comfort.
Yeah, good point, combination. Good, thank you. Anybody else? Thoughts? Joanne? You hear that?
I didn't hear the last point.
The last point was that she said she has younger kids and she would like to hold them herself if she can.
Okay,
Kids that are a little bit older, she would be okay with them getting the vaccine on their own. That's what she said. Yes.
okay. And also with because we are asking for a written consent, if you have questions, if you have a comment to write, just write it on the consent form and the nurse will see that. Especially if we know I know there are students that are terrified of needles. So it's nice to know those children ahead of time so that we can prepare them and maybe need the extra support from staff that do know the children better. So thank you for those ideas. Okay, thank you for having me. Sorry I couldn't provide more information.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. So can we give a round of applause for Joanne? Okay, so if there are no more Daniel, Joyce, Oracle, second Oracle. So, Oracle is asking for a backup. Sometimes when they have to help parents coming with a child. Here, no worker there. You have a formula you have to follow up here. And, how many times is that happened, or 4 times? So we need to address that. That's an HR concern. We have HR concerns right now as a nation. I'm gonna be really honest. Talk about that reconnection gap. Here, it's at back to work. We need workers to get back to work. Right now, people have cancer, or PI, we really need, please encourage. It's hard, especially the minimum wage jobs or those entry level jobs. It's hard right now, to attract our workers, but you know what, you feel better, you have a purpose, getting up in the morning, going to work. And we are looking at that as all directors, we're looking at the needs of HR right now. And what can we do to compensate to attract workers to our different areas where we have shortages. And just what every director right now is seeing the need there for more workers, like what you mentioned. So we are trying to work on that, and we'll continue to work on that. And we'll work harder to try to get done. They refer to me. No, they. Yeah, that should be in their schedule. So you're saying they're not following the schedule? Well, there is a daycare schedule that they send out that program manager with daycare workers does on a monthly basis. So it should be followed as much as possible. Now, if somebody comes up sick, we do have a shortage, as I stated, with some of our workers. We've got a time, kind of like a substitute teacher pool, And I'm gonna say even at the school, we have a shortage of substitute teachers. So, that puts pressure on workers feeling they can never be sick or take time off. And that's an unrealistic expectation to have from workers, because we all know we're in COVID right now. Workers are common cold, not COVID. They are regulated by law, are given at unemployment rates as so that is definitely HR meeting will take that very seriously, Captain. Thank you for that.
Thank you very much for those good questions. And again, the good thing to remember is Dennis nailed it. Nobody here claims to be perfect. However, when we do bring issues forward, we can address them together and accordingly and move forward in a good way too. So thank you very much for those suggestions. It's just such an exciting time as well in Indigenous education right now as we're moving forward, as well as we're starting to revitalize our own ways in education as well, in terms of methodologies and practices that we are incorporating into our classrooms. They are from our traditional methodologies, right? So that's why when we talk about our elders group and having them part of meetings, and we talk about community members with different skill sets that can really help enhance the environment at the school, this is a really good time to come forward and really start implementing into our daily routines as educators, because we see the effects of what happens when we separate from our identity. That's what the residential schools did to us. They separated us from being Indigenous. But in these times, it's a good time to really remember who we are, where we come from, and why we do the things we do, and why we do community, kinship, and support one another. That's one of the three main things that we do in order to move forward. Like these little ones right now, we keep saying, they'd be told, go sit down, scolded. Here today in the Indigenous setting, let them play, let them have fun. We could still hear each other, we could still talk. So with that being said, I'm really excited for this upcoming school year. My number is posted on the website, my personal number as well, my cell phone number, you can text me, call anytime. We will move forward with the door prizes. We have 20 prizes. Yeah, I'll take. I don't mind picking, so it's 20 prizes at $50 a piece. My name is not in there, but we're gonna shoot these off quick. All right, first name. Who? Brother Media, they said. Who is it? Brenda Bear, you're not here. Sorry, Brenda Bear. What are the who's name it? Jeff Allery. Audrey, how are you? Let me question Audrey. Sharon Bear. Hopefully a little bit higher. Dion Still. Kathy Bear. That was well. Sean Sagan.
Oh, Sean.
Sean Sagan. You know what? I sent Sean out of here to run a errand. Is that possible? Out of here. You know what I said? What I said to him. All right, Sean. Sorry, Sean. Lindsay Belgard. Jeff said the principal can have my 50. Dennis. Anastasia George. Anastasia. Lucille Bear. Elvin Isaac. Deborah Beal Markson. Out of the football Lawrence Watson. Joyce Lodge. Agnes Bear. Welcome back. Mr. Daniel. Belinda George. Five more spots here. Brett M. Gina Isaac. Four more squad. Morgan Watson. Eight more squad. Bill. Last squad. Last one, Irish Watson. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that concludes our day here at CETM. More of the teachers will be at school. School will be starting September 1st. Online registration will be open. Announcement for that as well before. So enjoy the last little bit of your summer holidays before you return to school. Thank you very much. And sorry too. Start reading that. You guys.
Hi.
When I was living in Atlanta, I lived in North Central and like
Yeah.
I'm a sober parent. So
Yeah.
what we did was we created a parent group for
I'll just log out of this because it's being recorded, so I'll just